I didn't supply any pens, I'm sorry. I'll get a couple more minutes just because I know everybody was in the main room eating breakfast. Oh yeah. Does anybody need a pen? I noticed she just saw the stash there. I've got a note.
I'm giving you a pen. Yeah. There you go.
Good price on it.
Look. You need this?
Grab one of these. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Still waking up.
Well, good morning. Hi. I'm at least not one of those guys who's going to yell at you and make you yell it back at me. So I know it's early. I know if you're from the West Coast, it's probably pretty rough, especially the fact that it's cold out. So that all in itself is not the best situation to come down to Florida, but I think we'll all deal with it. So I'm Ronnie, Ronnie West. I work with iMagnet. I do the CoolVu Rallyo posts that you see probably like 3 times a week, as well as doing blog posts. So it's kind of, and we manage the YouTube page as well. So I've seen many of your faces through videos if you've made and submitted them. So we curate and manage the YouTube page as well. So to give you kind of a backstory, I've been a tech guy since I was little. I used to grow up using the Tandy 1000 computer, if you know one of those, back in the 90s, trying to figure out how to find Atari games that were built in, and then just kind of slowly from there built up. I joined the Army in 2000. I was a part of the Psychological Operations Battalion, which essentially was marketing the U.S. to other countries while you're overseas, identifying a target market, and ideally having any conflict resolved without having a shot fired. So for me, that was pretty cool to be in the Army, but yet you're trying to save lives. After that, I kind of was always the tech guy. Had the Wi-Fi computer before everybody, started doing YouTube videos, and was just something that I just kind of had a knack for, but it was always just for fun. And about 2014, I started working with Interwest, which is a 3M distributor, and was kind of integrated into the window film community, and was cutting film, doing different orders, whether it was safety film, deco, solar protection, and all of that, and kind of have an understanding and a background of the window tint industry. So one thing led to another. I decided to start the Talkin' Film podcast in 2000, just for a way for a lot of our salespeople to kind of get in front of a lot of the customers, because they couldn't go into the shops, and it was just something that happened. And for me, that kind of developed into understanding like, hey, there's a reason for this. We need some sort of marketing to kind of get more exposure, whether it's from the dealer or the experts to the shop owners, to help them kind of get to their customers. After that, I decided to create my own marketing business, and then I ended up merging with Patrick at iMagnet. And so from there, we've kind of built out and do a lot of different things. So today I'm doing the art of being seen and remembered. And it's hopefully remembered in a good way, not so much a bad way, as me in high school hitting a school bus in front of a bunch of people in the school was not the best way to be remembered. So I hope I can help you guys understand a way to get out in front of people and to have you be top of mind when they're looking for those needs. To kind of start, I know content, that's one thing that a lot of business owners, you're not an expert in, or it's not really something that you particularly want to do because you want to focus on your business, you want to focus on doing the installs, you want to focus on finding new sales. But marketing plays a very key role in developing new leads, kind of giving the information to the customer so that they know what they need. While you're doing content, I think the most important thing is to be authentic, be yourself. If you've seen our videos online, I'm the same person that I am here as I am on those. I'm not dancing around doing something crazy, not doing TikTok dances. I want to give you information, I want to inform you, and I want to educate, because at the end of the day, that's I always wanted to be kind of a teacher growing up, and for me, in order to explain the marketing process, to help you have a better understanding, because for us, having an informed customer is much more important for me to just kind of get money from people. If you can learn and teach yourself and research, question us on different things, it's going to make you a better customer. It's going to make you using your money a lot more wisely, and that's kind of the key to running a business. And the key to business is finding new customers. And so that's where marketing kind of comes in. And I think we've all kind of heard it before that you're more likely to make a sale from a stranger than from somebody that's in your family. And that's kind of the key with anything in business. You're a lot more likely that someone you see across the country or that's online is going to make that sale versus your friend that you've been talking to about, and they're proud of you and they're happy that you're doing it, but they're not your ideal customer. And so finding those ideal customers is the key to growing that business that you have. And I always equate, and I think one of the things we work with, probably 85% tint companies. We have a few other companies that are outside the tint industry or in the automotive space, but a lot of them are, I don't mean to be rude, but there is an older generation. You're not the TikTok target market. But the thing that I always kind of reference it to is the business is not you, essentially. You are not the one to be out in front if you don't need to be, but you might not want the attention, but your business does. Like, equate your business to a teenager. It needs the attention. It needs to kind of get that exposure and be looked at, versus if it's something for you, you just like, I don't want to be on camera, I don't want to do this. That's totally understandable, and you are in the majority as far as in the window film space is people that you just don't want to be the one out in front all the time. And so how do you do different things that can kind of bring the attention to your business? And like I mentioned, personal brand versus your business brand. I think that's something for me as a marketer took a long time to kind of develop and understand and separate out, because a lot of times I was posting about Formula One or my dog or whatever might be on my personal brand, and that's not what the algorithm or your customers want to see. They want to see what you sell, the information about the products that you have, not so much about the party that you went to or the different things you do, because that's one that's going to confuse the algorithm, because that's every one of these platforms that you're doing marketing on. There's not somebody in the back pulling levers and deciding what gets shown. The algorithm is trying to figure out, what is this person showing? What are they displaying? Who can I put this in front of that it's going to make the most sense? Because at the end of the day, every one of those platforms is trying to make sure that that person stays on their platform, whether it's YouTube, whether it's X. They don't want somebody to leave and jump. That one of the things, if you do cross posting or if you put a YouTube video on Facebook, Facebook's not going to push that video out. You need to upload it directly, because why would it want someone to see your YouTube video, click on it, and then leave their platform? They want to sell the ads. They want to make sure that you're on there as long as possible. I think it was, I'm going to forget his name, but one of the comedians had mentioned all of these companies are after every second of your life. And unfortunately, that's where we're at, as terrible as it sounds, but you have to put your business, because your competitors are doing the same thing. And so whether it's you're not posting, they are. And that's the only way you're going to grab that market share, is by making sure that you're seen hopefully or consistently as much as the competitors in your area are. And so the main thing I think that you have to utilize with the marketing that you're doing is explaining the problem that you're solving. So whether it's, hey, there's this window, it's got glare, we're a barber shop, we're here to install it. The customers, the stylists we're dealing with, during the summer it was too bright, and we came in and we put this film on and it took care of this problem. And if you can kind of show at case by case versus just doing generic posts, and granted, that's a lot of we do a lot of stuff to just give people the idea, the macro view as far as what we're posting on CoolVu, where I think it's important for all of you to kind of focus on the local area. Hey, I see that donut shop that you guys tinted. Like, make it relevant to the people that are in your area so that you're more top of mind when that problem comes about. Because essentially, you're solving the problem. Hey, I had a break-in, so we're going to put this security film up. Or we've seen these different things with the decorative wall graphics or the storefront graphics. So finding that point of need or the point of pain that they're having is going to make your sale much easier. So to kind of, I know this thing is all about Google business profiles. And so I think the main thing to realize and understand, because I still get this question, and it's something that a lot of marketers or people that are in charge of the marketing department don't understand as well. What is SEO? It's in the name, but it might not be something that's totally understandable. So what is SEO? It's search engine optimization. So you're trying to optimize your business to be seen by that search engine. And so for a lot of people, it might go over their head, or they're just like, I don't want to deal with this. So like I mentioned, Google is an AI. And so if you were to go in and type in I was going to say, if you wanted to grab your phones out, whether you go to Google Maps or Google, and you're to type in, I did it last night, ice cream near me. You're going to see, I think there's 3 different shops that are local nearby. But the one that kind of stands out to me and the one that Google pushes at the top is Larry's Ice Cream, the one that's local if you've seen it down the road a little bit. What they've done to their Google business profile, because even though they're not rated as high as, I think there was one that had like a 4.8, but there's no pictures of ice cream. They had croissants and breakfast stuff, but somehow they're rated higher for ice cream. But yet Larry's Ice Cream had shown the sprinkles, like they had staged photos of different ice creams and different colors. And so for me, it was like, especially if I'm looking for a restaurant for me and my wife to go to on the weekend, and she always wants to go somewhere new, and I have to come up with the idea that, like, okay, I got to find, it's my job to find which one. I always will go to Google and try to see, like, okay, what's rated high, what has a quality amount of ratings, and what just looks appealing. And so I think that's something to think about, whether it's think of your films as different flavors or different menu toppings or menu items that you can give to the customer to understand, like, hey, this is something I might like, or this might be something you might like. So if you go on, when you go in and you search any kind of, whether it's near me or just anything that's there, now you're seeing at the very top of the results for different searches, the Gemini results. Google is an AI. Like I mentioned, there's no one that's there pushing information. You're fighting the AI. And the Gemini results are now the first thing you see before any paid ads. And so understanding how do you get put into that AI result. It's going to be a lot of different things, whether it's the information or stuff that's on your landing pages, whether it's the information in your Google business profile, your social media profiles as well. Typically YouTube, because those YouTube and Google are owned by the same company. So they're going to be connected in that way, so that if you're posting YouTube shorts or posting long form videos, and whether you have subtitles, Google's reading all of the information that you're talking about in there. And like I mentioned, if you're explaining the problem, if you're giving the specific keywords that people are searching for, you're going to more likely show up, one, in that AI results, but also more importantly, when you go below the paid ads, which is usually sponsored, which is what you'll see next, is the organic results. And so what I mean by organic, it's the stuff that you're not paying for. It's just everything that Google is finding and loading. And so that kind of leads to the document that was at the back. And if you don't have it, there is more that you can grab. So your Google business profile is your digital storefront. It's your 24/7 salesperson. It's the first thing that anybody sees. at 2 a.m. when I'm trying to figure out like, hey, should this be something that I want to do? If somebody just had a break-in and they're kind of panicking and they want to see, you're not answering the phone at 2 or 3 a.m., but your Google business profile is giving them the information that they need so that they can call you as soon as you're open. So, and it controls your business info across all of the Google pages. So, and if you were to go to Larry's or whoever that you would look up when you search, you'll see the different tabs that are there. So, one of the things that you'll see is like the updates, the photos, and like I mentioned, those are all super important, whether it's just a lot of times, and I did the window tint near me here, and a lot of the different shops had no photos of their work. They just had their address listed and it was a picture of their house. And so that's ideally not what you want if you're looking for that information. You're going to want to have the job site info. You're going to want to see the different styles of film that they did, and that's just going to give you a better ease as a customer to be like, okay, these people have done A, B, C, and D. They're probably somebody that I should look into and have them come out and give me results. So that goes to the map pack, and the key thing that I have on there is top 3 or can't see me. And so again, that's where you're battling your organic results that are in there to make sure, because when you pull up the Google Map Pack, typically there's 4 results that show with the map that's there. It'll be 1 sponsored, 1 paid ad that's there, and then 3 organic. And in Chicago, when I brought that up on mine, it was the same shop listed twice because they had 2 different locations and because they knew how to pump and fully optimize their Google business profile with those things. So right off the bat, they're more likely to get that business versus anybody else who's not doing that. And 44% of all clicks go to that map pack. Typically, you're wanting to find someone who's in your area. You're going to scroll down maybe a little bit on that first page, but typically no one's going to the 4th or 5th page to kind of find like, hey, what information is on those ones, when one, they're seeing the ratings and the profiles that are high. It might be a 4.8 rating with 300 reviews. They obviously are an established business. I want to make sure that I'm going to go to somebody that everybody else has gone to. And it's also, the map pack is, it puts you as relevant. Like if you're going to be in those top 3, like I mentioned, you're just having a better relevance over everybody else. Somebody can still click more businesses, but as they zoom in, that's when they'll start shrinking and finding the right people that are in your area. Because typically if you, whether it's automotive, I know a lot of people here, or I think all of you, are doing flat glass work. You're not doing auto, which is somebody might, I'm going to drive to this place and find them. But for bigger areas, bigger metropolitan areas, if you're going to search window tint, you're obviously going to zoom out and there's going to be a lot of different competitors in there to find, hey, if this commercial project, I want to make sure I find somebody has done stuff across the city or the state, and that's where then the importance of having that business profile optimized is going to be, because that's where you're going to start showing up the farther and farther that you zoom out in that map.
What we're finding out is that some of our customers are finding us through ChatGPT.
So yeah, that's where me and Eric had this. And it's something with whether it's paid ads or stuff we've talked about. We had a long discussion last night about, will the AI platforms kind of take over that search? And I think that's dependent on the person, but what he argued to me is something that was pretty important is Google has the time of experience of dealing with the tech infrastructure. A lot of these different AI platforms might shoot up because they've got certain funding, and then all of a sudden they might run out, but Google's going to still be there. And I think that's the thing to think about too, is yes, having all of that other information there is going to be helpful, because ChatGPT is they're scraping information all across the internet. No different than Claude, Perplexity, Gronk. Like all of those platforms are going to kind of hit into that or might find you in that manner. So it's definitely important to make sure that you're like I mentioned, the social profiles are keyed in. Your landing page has got a lot of information and detailed information, and as well as the Google Business Profile, because that's, for any business, that's almost or more so important than your website. Just because the website, whether you can have it sitting there and that's fine, but the Google Business Profile is one where you're getting reviews. Like, there's going to be a constant update that's going on. And so that leads me to the reviews and reputation. Like, making sure you're getting every single customer, like whether it's a QR code, an email after the job, and just asking them, hey, we would really appreciate it. Even more so, you could incentivize it somehow to have them, I'm going to give you 10% off if you guys do a review for us. Just so that you can get more of those reviews, because if you've gotten 90 last year, but you've gotten none this year, your competition is getting those reviews and getting them, and Google's going to see the updated ones and push those first. So that's the thing. Reviews are so important, because whether it's me looking at the restaurant, I want to find the rating. I'm not going to go to a 3.2 restaurant when I've got one that's 4.5 or 4.7, and I'm like, hey, why would we go there? She's going to be disappointed. And it's the same thing for a customer. If they're thinking, oh, this guy hasn't got any reviews in 10 months, but these ones have, and they're all good reviews, they might be the same, but this is going to show that it's more recent. And so that's going to be important in the fact of keeping in that consumer's eyes of like, hey, this is something that this business seems to be on top of it right now. Like, they haven't fallen off, they're not closed. And that's the thing too. If you've got no reviews for months, then somebody might be like, is this business even open? So making sure, and like I said, incentivizing the fact of having them do it, doing it easy. You can have like a QR code. If you have an actual shop, have a QR code that's sitting there that the customer can scan and then do it immediately. Or you can send that in an email like, hey, just scan this, or just make it as simple as possible, because nobody wants to go to this web page, go here. If you have multiple steps in order to do that review, there's less likelihood of them actually doing it. So if you can eliminate that and make it as easy as possible, because we're all lazy humans at the end of the day. We don't want to do extra work for somebody else that's not going to come back to us in some sort of way. So if you can make it as simple, as easy, and as fast as possible, there's more likelihood of you getting that, and that's what's super important to your business. One negative review ignored can cost you, and that's important to anybody that's looking, because if they see, and it might be one or two, but a lot of times if I'm looking for a service, I'm not reading the 5-star reviews. I'm going to the 1-star. Like, why was this person rated so low, and how did they react to it? Was it something they've just ignored, those 1-star, because they're too good of a business? Or are they, whether it's being humble enough to say, hey, I'm sorry that didn't work out. How can we help you? What can we do? It's showing that even if there is some sort of mistake, you're willing to kind of go beyond and make sure that you can fix that. And that's super important to a customer's trust, because that's essentially what you're looking for. You're trying to create a relationship, because I think for a lot of flat glass dealers, the repeat business is what's churning your business right now. It's not so much the new customers, those are great, but if you've done a job, you did a great job, there's more likelihood of them coming back for the next thing. Or they've got this other business that they want you to come and do too. So creating that relationship and trust starts right away with them seeing like, hey, this person had an issue, but they went and made sure that they fixed it. And they made sure that everybody, not that everybody else would see it, but in that 1-star, 2-star review, they're reaching out. They're making sure that it wasn't just something like, oh, that was just a dumb customer, like, I'm not going to deal with them. The fact is that everybody is looking at that, and they're rating you based on how you react to that. So engagement features. So like I mentioned, you can use the Google Business Profile. If you were to go to Larry's Ice Cream, you'll see the phone number, the website, the photos, and then there's updates. And so the updates is essentially when we're posting through Rallyo, and we've created a post, and whether there's a link to the website. Like when you go on to the Google Business Profile, you can use that same social media post. If you posted a picture on Facebook or Instagram, make sure that you're posting it onto your Google Business Profile as well. And then posting a link, if you do the learn more, if you've done that before where you've gone in and done that, have it go to your contact page, have it go to your landing page, whether it's go into your social profiles, whatever it might be, create that, because if you go to the window tint shops that were nearby, or even the other ice cream shops, there might be one, maybe two posts on the updates. But if you're constantly trying to inform the customer, and like I mentioned, you're showing the different flavors through the different updates that you're putting there. And the updates typically disappear after 7 days. So you got to be consistent with it. That's why we post multiple times, so that there's always something shown. And so then that kind of bulks up and helps that SEO, that organic SEO that I mentioned at the beginning, through all of those updates. So that post has keywords. It's not just, hey, here's this job. It's, hey, here's this job with X film that was at this client because they needed this. And so then that way, it's explaining that process when someone is typing in like, hey, I've got cold windows. Do we have anything like heat control? Or just the different specificity of what you're trying to show that film has. The Q&A. So essentially, if you're putting in those questions, you can force it into almost like a fake narrative. Like, hey, even if it's the customer didn't say this, but they kind of implicated it in when they contacted you, you can kind of control the narrative through those updates and be like, hey, like I mentioned, this is the problem that they had. This was our solution. Contact us. And so that way you're stringing, and like I mentioned at the beginning, you're creating a more informed customer, because unless your sales process is so on top that you're like, I can nail them every time, I think it's so much easier when you have a customer who's educated. Hey, I saw your post about this. I noticed we had this issue. You want things to be efficient. You don't want to be on the phone trying to sell this person for an hour when you only have 10, 15 minutes. Instead, that time can be like, hey, where are you at? Let's get this rolling. And it just makes that process easier. So if you can trim that sales time down by having the information that they're questioning you about on, whether it's your social profile, your Google Business Profile, it's going to make just things easier and move faster. And like I said, that's whether it's questions with us. If there's things that you have with us, I would much rather have you guys educated about these things. That's why I'm here. So then, and I'm sure I've talked to a few of you on the phone, whether it's setting up the Google profile and the verification process, which can be a nightmare. And just because, like I said, Google, there's not somebody I have a contact with that can just click the button and verify it, because it has to understand, like, is this a legitimate business? And so that's typically the biggest hurdle that I have with Google right now is when we create a new business profile, I have to prove to Google that you're a legitimate business. Because if Google was the Wild West and anybody could create a business and scam people, like, no one would be using Google. Like, they'd lose their legitimacy. So typically it takes about 5 days for that verification process to kind of go through. And I know that there's been some where we need business documents, we need a business video to kind of show, hey, here's my stuff, here's my van, like, here's my location, just so that they know, okay, this is actually a business, this person's doing this work, versus them just kind of handing out business cards, and then essentially anybody can target the same people that you're trying to get in front of. So understanding that process that Google has, I think, makes things easier, because otherwise, then yeah, I'm explaining the same process to so many people, and I think that can still be then turned with your own customers and trying to figure out, like, hey, how many of the same questions do you get from customers, and if there's a way to post that, because that if you got 7, there was an issue in your area, like, hey, whether it was damage or riots or whatever it might be, and you keep getting a bunch of calls, that's where some sort of social